Ninja power now!
Many franchises that emerged in the 80s and 90s, they often have the flexibility to be reimagined in both child-friendly adaptations and more violent and adult stories. Unfortunately, Power Rangers is not one of those franchises. Created in the 90s as an American version of the Japanese Super Sentai franchise, Power Rangers became a global TV phenomenon. However, arguably the series has failed to really appeal to a more mainstream demographic. There have been attempts to have it appeal to a more adult audience in the form of the 2017 Power Rangers film and some notable fan projects. However, what exactly does it take to ground the Power Rangers in a more serious world? At its core, Power Rangers was designed as a children's TV show for the ages of 9 to 12. With a playful tone, campy villains, and exaggerated characters, the show's low-budget feel, colorful visuals, and quirky characters made it fun, lighthearted, and full of action, never taking itself too seriously. If Power Rangers was adapted to a darker and more grounded setting, these elements would need to be toned down or abandoned. This shift is explored in different ways, such as in the 2017 Power Rangers film and the Joseph Kahn short film. Kahn's film is more of a subversion and commentary on the brand, recontextualizing Power Rangers as a story about adult characters who suffer from trauma due to their childhood as these intergalactic soldiers. The film highlights the dark implications of the original premise, questioning the morality of forcing kids in such extreme circumstances. The contrast between the campy look of the original show and the film's gritty tone emphasizes how the innocence of childhood gives way to a more mature understanding of the events they experience. The 2017 Power Rangers movie also grounds the story in a more serious world, but maintains the fun and adventure of the original. The film presents the characters as complex teenagers dealing with personal struggles while still incorporating lighthearted moments and humor. It also explores the morality of sending children to fight an intergalactic war, offering a more realistic explanation for why these specific teens were chosen.
These are them? They're so small.
Honey, I said the same thing, actually.
You mean to tell me that the fate of the universe is placed in the hands of these children?
You're mine!
One of the biggest strengths of the Power Rangers franchise is the high-energy martial arts and team fights. In the show, the Power Rangers often engage in fast-paced combat using a blend of karate, judo, and acrobatic techniques to battle against monstrous villains or their foot soldiers.
Let me go! Okay!
These scenes are choreographed to be visually striking and fast, having a particular kind of rhythm that makes it look like a dance. It's not really realistic, but I think that's the entire appeal of the action. It's just very exaggerated and energetic. The creative team are just trying to have fun and be as exaggerated and energetic as they can be, especially when they employ the use of special effects such as explosions, amazing sound effects, and cinematography.
Moves that'll really flip ya!
If you're translating the Power Rangers into a more realistic world, these energetic and exaggerated action scenes would have to be abandoned in favor of something more realistic. Since the whole purpose of Joseph Kahn's film is to recontextualize moments from the show through a darker lens, action sequences that used to appear energetic and cartoony are now much more violent, chaotic, and horrific. Here, we see that the fights aren't as fast and energetic as we're used to. Sure, they're still well choreographed, but the action in general is slower and more simple. Gone are the flashy moves. Instead, they are visceral and hard-hitting, which of course fits into the grounded nature of this story. Strangely, I don't really have much to say in terms of the action in the 2017 film. The fights are exactly what you'd expect from a Hollywood film, well choreographed with some decently flashy and elaborate moves. But again, there's not much we can really talk about in terms of the action in this film.
It's morphin' time!
The original Power Rangers and subsequent seasons after would all maintain similar approaches to the character designs. These were low-budget shows meant for children, so there was a low-budget look to everything that appeared, like the monsters and most notably, the suits. As you know, the Power Rangers suits always follow a similar design motif, no matter the adaptation. Multicolored costumes, either armored or fabric, with helmets that have both a visor and a mouth-like mold. The general design of the suits do change based on the series, but they always keep the same motifs overall. If there's a suit, then there also must be morphing sequences. Morphing sequences are typically how the Power Rangers transform in each adaptation. In the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the morphing sequences were pretty simple. The characters would do some kind of choreographed move, yell out their ranger name, and then transform with a simple techno-like transformation. A lot of the early Ranger seasons would use this exact formula, and the suits themselves would basically materialize using some kind of energy. As more seasons released, however, the Ranger transformations would become increasingly more elaborate and ambitious, since Joseph Kahn wanted to recontextualize the Power Rangers with a darker lens. Aspects of the Power Rangers lore are maintained, even those that existed due to the low-budget nature of the shows. This can especially be seen with the look of the Power Rangers. We do not get a good look at most of them in the film, but the brief appearances they do have show us that the suits more or less look like the ones in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but with some slight redesigns, which we can see clearly in some behind-the-scenes photos, which gives us a better look at what the costumes look like.
It's morphin' time.
In terms of the morphing sequences, there are none in the actual film, but we can assume that the transformations are similar to the ones in the original show, though it seems like the helmets themselves physically fold around them in the film, which is something we know the Ranger helmets are capable of doing. In the 2017 Power Rangers reboot, Saban and Lionsgate aimed to redesign the world of Power Rangers to feel more grounded and contemporary while retaining the larger-than-life feel. They took a more sci-fi approach to achieve this, as seen in the conceptual artwork. The Power Rangers suits were significantly redesigned to reflect a more alien and armored look, fitting the film's tone. The filmmakers avoided traditional spandex in favor of suits that appeared to be made from alien technology. Early concept art always leaned towards this armored look, and many of these designs varied, with some emphasizing the armored look more than others. The morphing sequences also underwent a major shift. No longer were the transformations elaborate and energetic. Instead, it was a more streamlined, nanotech-inspired sequence. The suits materialize onto the body, presumably through thought, although the final morphing scenes are less dynamic. Earlier concept art offered much more visually exciting and dynamic sequences, with the suits enveloping the characters like some kind of high-tech blanket, further enhancing the alien-like feel to the armor. However, it also gives off a sort of symbiotic-like appearance, like the suit can shift and mold depending on the user's emotions.
Operation Overdrive!
Finally, the Zords are arguably just as integral to the Power Rangers as the Rangers themselves. While the Zords are cool, what makes them special is their ability to combine and transform into the Megazord, a gigantic robot that typically shows up by the end of an episode. Now the Zords always take on a similar design motif, appearing like a very boxy mech suit whose design shifts based on the adaptation. Honestly, in Joseph Kahn's film, it's pretty hard to get a gauge on the Megazord's design. Luckily, there are images of the Zord online, which give us a clearer look. As you can see, it primarily has a slim body with blue and yellow legs, a red torso and arms, a jetpack, a red horn, which gives it a demon-like appearance, and a yellow dome at the top of its head. If you're a fan of Power Rangers, you'll realize that this Zord is based off the original from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. However, Joseph Kahn and the creative team have taken its boxy and toy-like design and redesigned it to be more practical and grounded in reality. The Megazord in the 2017 Power Rangers film also underwent a major redesign. Unlike the original boxy design, the Megazord's body is more humanoid and incorporates elements from the Power Rangers suits, such as the galaxy-like light on the torso. In earlier conceptual artwork, the Megazord had designs that were much more faithful to the original show, maintaining an aggressive and grounded look with familiar colors and the iconic horns. Another design even kept the blocky structure and colorful parts, sticking closely to the classic appearance. However, it seems like the creative team ultimately chose a design that better matched with the futuristic look of the Power Rangers themselves. Whether or not Power Rangers should or should not be placed in a grounded world is up to who you ask. Personally, I think the series should remain the way it is, but there's nothing wrong with some occasional reinventions of the property.